Hi everyone. Last week we have been discussing about synchronous services, asynchronous services, and we understood what is a synchronous services and what is a asynchronous services. Asynchronous services are 4 types of services, right? Batch apex, schedule apex, future apex, queuable apex. So yesterday we were discussing about batch apex. Batch is asynchronous execution of apex code to process large data or bulk of data to overcome the kernel limits. And what are the interface that we have to use? If we have to implement the batch class, we have to use the database.batchable interface. Database.batchable interface we have to use. What are the methods are available inside the database.batchable? Start method, execute method, and finish method. And we were discussing about the limitation, government limitations, and how many records can be run. Everything we discussed, and right now we are very much clear about the structure of the apex class, and we had implemented couple of one class we have implemented to update the class name of the patient, right? So this is what we have did yesterday. Now yesterday, if you observe in start method, what we were doing we were doing the query inside this query and database.query locator, which is returning it. Now let's assume we do not want to write a query here. We do not want to write a query here. I wanted to execute it from the outside. Like while executing the batch, I wanted to pass the query, because query might change anytime. Like what will happen if I write a query here? If I write a query here, in future, in the production, once it is deployed to the production, if I wanted to change anything on the query, like I wanted to add another new field, so I have to make a changes in the developer console, developer environment, then I have to push it to the staging, then I have to push it to the production. So a lot of effort there, right? But if I take out this query and run it from the outside, that means pass the query from the outside to the batch class. If I have that flexibility, I need not to make changes in future, because only the area is the query that I'm querying it. I need more fields. If I do it here, that I'm hard coding the values here. Instead of hard coding it, let's pass it from the outside. Let's see how it is going to, how to pass from the outside of the batch class. Let's go ahead and create a new class, CL_2706, and let's give the name batch without query. Okay, so whenever we implement a batch class, what we have to use? We have to use the interface implements database.batchable, right? And then I have to use the S object. Close this. But as soon as I implement this, it is going to give me the error. Saying that 3 methods are required. That is perfectly fine. So let's go ahead and declare the methods first. So what I need a start method. Just a second. So let's go ahead and implement the 3 methods. What are the 3 methods? Start, execute, and finish. So how to implement it? Let's use public access modifier. And for the start method, we have the return type, right? So what is the return type? Database dot query locator, and then start. Now another one, public void execute. Next another one, public void finish. Now three methods are done, but what is the things are missing? Passing the parameter is missing, because all three methods expect the parameters database dot batchable context bc. Right. Now inside this bc, we have to add another parameter, list of s object, because right now we are not sure that which object it is going to pass by start method. List of s object. Let's give the name as scope. Perfect. All the errors are gone. So what is the reason behind creating this batch class? What we wanted to check? We wanted to check how to pass the query from outside of the batch class. Right? So there is a return type which is missing it. So let's give the return type here. Return. What is the it has to return? It has to return the database dot get query locator. Database dot get query locator. And what we have to pass? We have to pass the query. Now, if I have to pass the query from outside of the batch, what we have to do? We have to implement the constructor here. Because whenever I'm loading the batch class, I wanted to pass the query. So what we need here? We need constructor. How to implement the constructor? Public and the class name. Public and the class name. Right? And let's assume that I'll be passing the query string q. Also, let's pass the object string o, and which values to be updated. Let's pass that field also, string f, and what is the value? String f, string v. So what I'm doing it, everything passing from outside, which object and which field, what is the value that I wanted to update. Everything I'm passing from the outside. Now I'm getting it here. Now where to set that? In order to set, I have to first declare the variables here. Right? In the class level, we have to declare the public final. Final means static, it is not going to change the value. String query. How many I need? Object field value. Let's say instead of object, because that is going to think as object entity field, let's say value. So what I can do, I can simply take this static, the final string value query equal to q and entity equal to o, in the field equal to f, and then value equal to v. Now I got the query. I'm getting the query while executing the I can say while initializing the batch, I'm passing the query. Where is the query? String queue contains the query. Where I'm setting into the query. Right? Now, what I can do is I can pass the same query to the here. Because this is accessible by everybody. Why? Because I'm setting this in the class with public final string. If it is a final means, and if it is a public, if it is designed, if I declare this in the class, anybody can access these variables because these are the class variables. Now let's go ahead and implement the execute method. What we have to do, we wanted to update this particular field. Whatever the field is passed by the user, or while executing the class, whichever the field is passed, that particular field with the value I wanted to update it. Okay. So now let's go ahead and write it. So I'm getting the results here. Okay. First query, I'm getting the query. Start method is going to give the all the records to the execute method. And where are the values that are stored? It's stored in the scope. So what I'll do is, I don't know which object it is going to pass. So I'll write it in generic. So for S object, S colon scope. Fine. Now what are the things that I wanted to update it? So I can write this way, S dot put. Here I can pass the value field. What is the field? Field comma my value. And simply I can update the scope. We have written the class in generic form, right? I did not put the any object here. Nowhere it tells me that which object I am doing it. This is a generic class. This could be working for everybody. For everyone, any object, I can use this particular batch class. Now let me go ahead and run it from the anonymous window. So let's take this batch class. So what we used to do, we used to initialize the batch, right? VA equal to new and the batch class. And then what we used to do, database dot execute batch. Database dot execute batch. And then here I can pass the VA. Right? So instead of two lines, what you can do is you can simply take this new batch class and in one line you can execute the code. In one line you can execute the code. Database dot execute batch, and which batch? New, the batch class name, but it is expecting the parameters, right? Constructor is expecting the parameters. What are the parameters it is expecting? It is expecting the queue. Because if I try to run this, it will scold me saying that it is expecting the parameters. So that's the reason we have to pass the, let's say, 4 variables I have to pass, Q, O, F, V, right? Now, if I have to pass this, first of all, I have to build this. So let's say that string q equal to select. I'll say that I wanted to update the industry. Okay. Select industry from account. Let's say not all the one, limit 10. I'll take just a limit 10. This is my query that I'm going to pass it in the while executing the batch. Next one, which one? I wanted to pass the object, right? And this data type should be matching. Whatever I'm passing it from the anonymous window, whatever is there in the batch class, that data type should be matching. Next one, string O equal to, let's assume that this is in the account object. And what else I need? I need a field. Field, which field I wanted to update? I wanted to update the industry. String F equal to industry. I wanted to pass the field name. And next one, value. What is the value that I wanted to update it? String B equal to. What are the values that we have in the industry?
Banking you can update, Swapna.
Yeah. So let's take the banking. Okay. Now everything I'm passing it from outside, right? Nothing I'm declaring it here, nothing I'm not declaring anything related to the object. Now let me go ahead and quickly run this. I have a queue, object, field, banking. Okay. So let me highlight this, execute.
Semicolon is missing.
And limit.
Semicolon. Limit. Limit spelling.
Right. So let me execute this. Execute the highlighted one. So we have not written any debug logs, but it has updated it. So what we can do is, instead of to know which of the records it is updated, probably let me, if you put the debug point, it will give you what are the records.
Swapna.
Okay, but it updates.
Swapna.
Yeah.
So in the execute method, in the for loop you updated scope, right?
Yeah, this is just to,
So,
you to understand, but update we should not write inside the. Why am I doing the update directly here? Because I have taken something new here today. S.put. So S is not declared anywhere. What we used to do is we used to declare a list of S object, right? So let's say that objects new list S object. So this is what we used to do. So instead of directly doing the S put here, what we used to do object dot add. But today something I have newly taken up to show you that inside the for loop, we have a something called for the for loop s.put. For example, you are running a some query. There is a requirement from the production that came from the client side saying that all the account company name has to be updated as a Samskar ID. Before they were having a different company. Okay, now they shifted. So what you can do is, instead of writing all of those, if you have 100 records, only 100 records are there, then you can simply run that part. So this is something new, s.put, which will be applied only to the for loop object. But as a good practice, if you are doing for more than, if you don't know the count of the records, declare the list of s object here, s object dot You can use add. But again here S object dot, if you wanted to add, this is, you have to first put everything S inside, right? You cannot add the field. So there is a logic which will be implemented here, add. You have to first put the entire S here, right? So entire S, then take that value and compare the field. You have to compare the field. That is a different logic altogether here. So first put everything here. Then after that you have to query the thing. Query based on this ID. So what is the query will be? Query will be SOQL query. We have not discussed that. It will be a SOQL query because you do not know the object here, right? So you have to do the SOQL query. After the SOQL query, you have to match the field. And based on the field update, you can do the, based on the matching of the field, you can update the field. So it will be a like 2-3 line extra coding you have to do. But instead of that, you can also do this. That's what I wanted to show you. Clear?
So we can do DML operations for loop in some
No, we
cases you are
cannot
saying.
do the DML operation inside the kernel. That's what I'm mentioning. If you know that there are only 10 records, simply go ahead and do it. But as a developer business, a developer best practice, don't do that inside.
So if you have a limited objects, limited records, then we can do it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Now, for example, if you have a records in the recycle bin, assume that your batch class is running the behind the scene. Okay, so while executing the batch, somebody has deleted one account. Okay, so what it do, it will update the recycle bin also, because we are simply writing the SOQL query. Okay? In case during the batch class, if anybody deleted the record, okay, immediately we do not want to update anything for the deleted one. So what we can do in SOQL query, there is an option. Here inside this account, we have some option called where is delete equal to false. That means do not touch the one which are deleted. Only update the one which are active. Right? In SOQL, this is the interview question also. Interview question that how can we exclude the deleted records to update deleted records from SOQL. So how to do that? Is delete equal to false. Now we have understood how to run the batch, how to pass the how to write the batch class, how to make it generic, everything we are fine. Now coming to the real-time scenario. First of all, why do I use the batch class? When do I use the batch class? What is the requirement to use the batch class? Requirement is whenever you have a bulk of data that needs to be updated. That means, for example, okay, let's say that requirement is today, whatever the leads are coming from Facebook, okay, in a day, whatever the leads comes from the Facebook, I wanted to update that lead status new to in progress. When I wanted to update at the end of the day, that means 11:58 p.m. I wanted to update all the leads that came today. I wanted to update the status to in progress. This is a simple scenario, assume that. Because in a day, how many leads you can get it? There is no limit for that. You can one day you can get 10 leads, one day you can get 1,000 leads, another day you can get 20,000 leads. There is no limit on that, right? But whenever you get it on that day, before ending the day, that means 11:59 p.m. we want to update all the lead status to in progress and send an email to the agent saying that these many leads that you have to look at tomorrow. This is the requirement. Now midnight 11:59, they cannot wake up the developer saying that can you do this? That too every day. Developer will not accept first of all doing it 11:59 your time PM, right? Or our time PM. One day, 2 days they can do it, but if we have to do every day, either developer will be going out of the company or they will say that I'll not work on this task. So in those scenarios, for the bulk update, where human resource is not required at all, I can go ahead and write a batch class. Write a batch class saying that, okay, today whatever the leads came, instead of here, you can put the created date. Input created date equal to today. Created date equal to today. While executing the batch, if you say this query, okay, so what it will do, every day it is going to run this batch. How to run that, how it is going to run the batch, I'll tell you that, because we have to schedule the batch first of all. If every day it has to run, then I have to schedule that batch class. How to schedule the batch class we will learn in next topic, but for now that is the requirement. Anything that you wanted to update, a bulk update, okay, bulk update on the existing records. You cannot insert the records directly coming from the client. When I say do not insert, for example, client is giving every month new sheet, one spreadsheet they are giving you, saying that can you upload this, all the records which are in the spreadsheet to the Salesforce, one of the object. You cannot do that through the object. Why? Because you don't know what is the value that you have to update. How can you do that inserting? Using the data load you can do. Using the data load you can insert it. But the records that are already there inside the system, and I wanted to update those records and alert the agent saying that these are the leads came today, you have to review it tomorrow. So in those scenarios or bulk update, we use the batch class. Clear? So when we are running the batch class, so when we are running the batch class, assume that you have 1,000 records. 1,000 records. So what batch class will does, the start method, it will divide it to the chunks. Let's take that. Let's take this as a 5,000 record so that 3 chunks will come. Right, the 5,000 records are there. So what it will do, it will divide into the chunks. How many chunks it is going to divide it? 200. And next execute will be another 200. And next execute will be another 200. So behind the scene, what will happen? So whenever we are running the batch class, first what it will do, it will query everything. Okay, it will query everything. But when start method passes the data to the execute method, it will pass only the 200 records. 200 records to the execute method. So what execute method will do? It will execute everything. and it will go back to the start method. It will go back to the start method, saying that whatever you sent me, all are done. My job is done. It will go back to here. Now next, whenever the start method is again passes the data to the execute method, what will happen? It will whatever the count is there. Whatever the count is there, it starts from again 1. What is that means is first whenever it is executing the 200 records, it will execute 1, 2, 3, 4. The count will be like till 200. When it reach to the next execute, next 200, what it will do execute method? It will not count it from the 201. It will not count it from 201 and 202. It will not do that. What it will do again, it will start from the 1, 2, 3, 4. So every time whenever the execute method is executed, it will reset the count. Reset the count. So whatever is done, done. Now whatever you are giving me, I'll count that everything as it from the base. Now again, if it is going to the next execute method, again it will start it from the execute. It doesn't start from the 401. Right? It doesn't start from the 401. Again, it will start from 1, 2, 3. So execute method thinks that every time whenever I'm getting the records, that is new. That means as soon as you've done the execute method job, it is going to reset everything. But in case, in the real time, in a day, how many records are updated? If I want the count, that means in the finish method, I want the total count. Whatever the data that is updated today, I want entire count, whether it could be a 500, it could be a 10,000, it could be a 1 lakh. I want the total count. Is it possible to get the total count here? Because execute method every time it is resetting it. So in this scenario, if you wanted to maintain the state, if I wanted to maintain the state across the batch, that means whether it is doing the chunk or whether it is doing in one go, it doesn't matter. The time it starts the execute method till the time it starts the start method till the execution is completed, I want all the records count.
By using database not stateful, we can do it, right?
Yes. So all the records we wanted to calculate. That means as soon as 200 is done, here I wanted to start with the 201 and 202. And as soon as this is done, total 400. Here it is going to be the 401 and 402. So at the end, I wanted to get total. So in order to maintain the state across the batch, what we have to use? We have to use the database dot stateful. We have an interface called database dot stateful. Method we need this in order to maintain the state in the batch class. For example, our task is to count the number of records processed in the database. We must need to use the database dot stateful. Let me show you that example. Let's create a new class, CL underscore 2706. Let's say that stateful. Right. So what we have to use for the batch class, first of all, I have to implement database dot batchable. This is needed. Along with this, I also need database dot stateful. It is going to suggest you stateful. It is not giving, I don't know. So stateful So by looking at starting of the line itself, it is going, we should understand in this batch, I'm going to get entire count because we are using the interface called database.stateful. So for example, in the existing itself, we have run this class, right? Right now, we have run this class to update it. But if I wanted to know how many records are updated, then what I can do, database.stateful, I can use this. And then inside the class, I can declare one integer, public integer. Let's assume that count equal to 0. Count equal to 0. So initial starting of the batch class, my count is 0. Now, as the execute method keep on execute, whenever it is updated, I wanted to update that count equal to count plus 1. So whatever we have discussed the example, which is going to print. And at the end in the finish method, I'm going to get that count. How do I get it? System, let's print that system.debug. Let's print the count. Perfect. Control S. Now debug, execute. Let me execute the same thing. No such column created on the entity. Oh, okay. Debug. Limit 10. The other box. Okay. Execute the related one. Debug. Which one? We have to find the exact one, finish method, wherever it is printing it. Yeah, this is the finish method. So right now we are running for only 10, so it is it gave the 10. But if you are running the more than 1000 records, you can get it. So today assignment is write a batch class to update. Everybody might be having the contact records, right? Instead of contacts, let me take cases. Can you all check you have a cases? Records are there, you will not be having it. Okay, you all might be having the opportunity, right? So in the opportunity details tab, we having something called stage, right? Everything updated to the prospective. Write the batch class to update the opportunity stage. To prospecting for first 1000 records. and print the total count at the end. Clear on the requirement?
Yes, Swapna.
Now, whenever we are running the batch class, where it is going to store, where is the data that is going to store? For example, after executing my batch class, I wanted to know in the finish method, what is the status of job? What is the status of job? How do you get it in the using the query? We have a query something called async apex job. So that is select status comma number of, if you are not getting these things, what you can do is go to the file, open and go to the objects. Here you will see async. Let me type it here. See, async apex job. Open this. So what are the data that I need? ID, job type, status, total job items, number of errors, completed date. I think that's all I need. If there are any parent job, you can take it. Right, once you have selected, let's click on this. So what will happen? It is going to give you the result. So these many batch classes that are executed. Today is 27, right? 27, 27, 27. So you will know that how many are batch classes are completed, how many are failed, and how many are in progress. So in the real time, what we do is in the batch class, in the finish method, before printing the count, we first cross verify this async job. So sometimes what happens is because the system is busy, it will take some time. So what we will do that async, or whenever we are sending a job, whenever we are sending a emails. Okay, so for sending the email, I wanted to get all the details from the Apex job. Like once it is completed, then only I can send the email. So in those scenarios, what we do is first we will query the Apex job. Equal to select ID comma status comma number of errors comma total job items, and there is one more thing which is the job item process. Right, job item processed. Job item processed. Number of errors, and if you wanted to track who has created this job, so what we can do is we can track it using the created by dot email. Right, so that we can track whoever is doing it. Now you cannot write entire batch. If you run this query, what will happen? It will give entire list, but you are only interested on your job. Whatever your job is there, only you are interested in this. So how to get only this particular? Where ID equal to where the job gets stored, it is stored in the interface called database.backend context. So you can give bc dot get job ID. So you are interested only this job ID. So for this job ID, what is the status and what is the job item process, number of errors, we are going to track it. So using this also we can print, like I can print the status, I can print the, if there are any errors, I can print those values. Either you can run this query or you can go to the setup. Whenever we run the batch class, there is a place where we can cross verify. So type job, you will see here jobs are there, different jobs are there. Scheduled jobs, bulk data load jobs, background jobs, Apex jobs. Right? If it is a scheduled one, then we are not yet reached the scheduled one. So that's the reason. This is something which I created. 627 user interface. Okay, this is a different one. Okay, so if you schedule it, you will see the scheduled job. But right now, let's go to the Apex job. See here, right? So it's completed today. So whatever you ran today, so it will give you all those information in the Apex job when you execute the batch class. Clear before I move on to the next one. So there is another homework assignment, because this is the real time which I got it yesterday. Okay, bit tricky, but try. This is not related to batch effects. This is related to Visual Force page. Assume that we have to implement Visual Force page. Okay, implement a Visual Force page. On the header, you can take anything. Okay, simply I can show you this. So when I go to the accounts, okay. If I go to the all accounts, so this I wanted to implement. You can take any names. I'm not giving a specific one. Like you can take name, status, phone number, facts, industry, you can take this. But you should have a limitation. Pagination should be there. So right now, everything coming in the 58, everything in the one page. Okay, in the Visual Force page, implement a page saying the previous, next, previous, first, previous, next, last. Implement this page nation. And every page display the only 5 records. Only 5 records. Okay. And when I click on this, could be any header. Either I can click on a name, state, site, phone number, facts, any header which I click on this, it has to sort it. It has to sort the records only that particular page. Sort the record for only that particular page, wherever you are in the page. Wherever you are in the page. For example, you are in the second page. If you click on a facts header, the sorting, okay, it has to sort it only that particular records, either ascending or descending. It should not disturb the other page records. And next, every record should have the checkbox. Every record should have the checkbox. Every record should have the checkbox. And whenever I click on this, whenever I check this checkbox, there is a button should enable here. As soon as I click on this, the button should enable. As soon as check the box, should enable the button. What is the button? Edit. Should enable the button edit. Click on the edit button and update the record. This is a requirement. This is truly a real time. Okay. So this is a homework. Everybody is clear? Any questions? Implement a visual force page same as this table. Okay. You can take any fields, name, created by, created date, phone number, fax, industry, you can take anything. Which are the header, I click on it. It should sort the records only for that particular page. If I go to the next, then it should display me the next page as usual. So this page, if I do the sorting, it should not disturb the other page. And below, it should give me the total count of the pages. Okay, total count of the pages here, like how many pages are there, the data. And here the buttons, first, previous, next, last. And then this is the table which should display. And as soon as I check this, there is a button should enable before the name or after the checkbox. Only for this particular record, not for all the records. As soon as I click on the edit, it should automatically take the ID of this particular record and give me the couple of information like account name, only few pages, and update the record. Fine, any questions?
Swapna?
Yeah.
So can you go to the query once, which you are written dynamically for the batch? Like here you taken one value, one field along with value, right? So
Yeah.
what if we are writing any subquery stating the 2 to 3 fields? So in that case also we has to follow the same process, or we have any other thing?
You need to manipulate that. It's not as straightforward as it is. Because you are writing the subquery there, right? Like inside the account, you wanted to get the contact fields. Okay. In the contact first name you wanted to update. Right? If I take a first name, account will have the first name, contact will have the first name. Right? In that case, you can take another maybe one field which is a parent object and child object. And then child object data you have to update it. So it will be like this will be a parent object and there will be another child object. And in the execute method, the logic will be bit changed. Here you are querying the scope. Scope will be account because you are passing the data account, but inside that account you will be having the child records. So you will not get the child records here. You will get the account including the child records. Now you cannot do directly s.put field comma value here. You have to first divide your parent and child, then update it.
So how many fields we have, that many strings we have to declare, right?
You
Hello.
can make it more generic. Right now I have shown one example, but this can be more generic.
See, my question is here, whenever we are querying more than 3 to 4 fields with subquery, so then in that case we have to declare more string data, right? So in that case it's a bit difficult to do all the things. So is there any other way to approach?
I have some ideas here, but I do not know this flow if I tell. Like you can go different ways. You can go to the metadata, custom settings, you can declare the fields, mapping you can create it. Based on the mapping, you can update here. So we can do different ways, but if you have any requirement, we can sit and work on that. But that is doable.
Okay, another question, Swapna.
Yeah.
Here we have used database.stateful, right?
Yes.
So we are printing the how many records are executed.
Yes.
So along with that, I need to print the data. Then in that case, what is the approach, Swapna? Like what is the ID record ID, or what is the value changed? Minimum fields like 2 to 3 fields along with ID.
You can build here another integer which is a list of ID or set of string or list of string along with the count. You can, if you wanted to get, you can get the IDs and store it into the collection. And at the end, you can print those IDs here.
If possible, tomorrow can you explain that with an example?
Um, Maybe we'll see that. Why don't you try it? Okay. If you are not able to do that, we can explain that. Okay?
Okay.
But that is the easy way. You just need to have to declare a collection data type and put everything as soon as the count is increased, push everything to the collection data type. Bottom, you can print that collection data type.
Okay, Swapna. And one more request from our end. We are getting lot of background noise from your end, like traffic sound.
Oh, just a second.
Not tomorrow onwards, we are asking that request because a lot of noises from your side, unable to grab your explanation.
How about now?
Yes, okay, Swapna.
You should have told me before. I was thinking that there is no noise.
Okay,
He shifted the house, so that's the reason everything is going on.
okay. Most of the traffic noise only we are getting.
Oh, okay. Because I'm sitting beside the window. That's okay.
Okay,
I'll change the place.
okay. Thank you, Swapna.
Yeah. So coming to the next one. This is the last for today. Synchronous. Okay, one is synchronous. Difference between the synchronous and asynchronous. This is the interview question that can come up. So as I explained yesterday, what is the major difference between the synchronous and asynchronous is, if you say synchronous term, it means what? Occurring at the same time. Occurring at the same time. What is that means? Occurring at the same time means entire Apex code is executed in one single go. Entire Apex executed in one single go. Okay. So whereas asynchronous means this is also occurring at the same time, but what is the difference here? Apex is executed when the resources are available. That means any calling method. So this can run parallelly. This can run parallelly. But when it will execute, whenever the resources are available, it runs parallelly. That is true. But whenever the resources are available, Only it will execute whenever the resources are available. So I can say executes parallelly whenever the resources are available. And coming to synchronous, in the synchronous, what will happen while executing the next thread, that whoever is sitting there, the thread will wait until it completes the first one, or I can say it runs in sequence one by one. Till the last one is not completed, it will not execute the new one. Here, they will not wait it. Thread will not wait. Thread will not wait until it completes. So instead of what it will run multiple calls will be running at the back end. So that means asynchronous call, this will run in multiple threads. So because of this, what will happen? Which helps to do the many tasks as a background job. So again, so as it is waiting there and it is executing one by one, what is happening here? Processing time is increased. A lot of processing time here. Or I can say processing time is more because you go fast. Once you complete it, let me know, I'll go it. Here, processing time is less. And this one, during the user input, like whenever the user updates anything, it will execute on the same time. That means when the user is on the screen, this will get executed when the user is on the screen. When the user is on the screen. When it comes to the asynchronous, it doesn't matter whether the resource is there or not, user is on the screen or not, it doesn't matter. But developer has the flexibility. Developer has the flexibility to run the asynchronous during the user off time. There is a flexibility. It's all in our hand, developer hand. Like midnight, whenever they log off, it's after 5 o'clock. So during that time, they can run it. And what are the examples that for the synchronous? Examples that trigger controller extension, custom controller. Custom controller is nothing but Apex class. Controller extension is also Apex class. When it comes to the asynchronous, batch Apex, schedulable Apex, future Apex, and queuable Apex. Okay, this is the major difference between the synchronous and asynchronous. And this is the interview question also. Interview question is, what is the difference between the synchronous and asynchronous? Give me some example. Difference between synchronous and asynchronous. And give the some examples which one is, when I say some examples, they will ask like a batch class or future class is the synchronous or like that they will ask. Some examples or functionality or synchronous and asynchronous. Clear? So these two are the assignment. One is the batch class to update the opportunity stage to prospecting, and you can count here the records also, like which are the records you wanted to know. Like while printing the count, you can print ID. And the next one is implementing the visual course page, same as a lightning view. And only the changes, it should have the previous, first, next, last buttons at the bottom. And every page should have the only 5 records. And based on the header click, it should sort the records only for that particular page. And whenever I click on the checkbox related to that particular record, it should enable the button called edit. And when we click on the edit, it should open the page and update the couple of fields which we can give to the user to update. Fine. If you are able to do this visual course page, you are perfect in that. Because that is the purely the real time work. Any other questions? And trial head. Complete this, use batch apex. Complete this batch apex. Okay, then any other questions before I sign off for the day? Okay, yeah. Thank you all. Bye-bye. Still we are getting the traffic news, please check. Yeah, sure. I'll cross verify that. Thank you for the update.
Thank you, Swapna.
Bye.
Bye.